Well, the cold front is approaching and about to move through, and winter's going to make a cameo appearance for, I don't know, 12 hours or so. But it will do what it will do. Meanwhile, uh, they'll be measuring snow in feet in the mountains of the west. We'll talk about that. We'll look at the weekend, the long range, and whatever else you want to look at tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, which is brought to you by Tempest by Weatherflow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system, and you can join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link is on the descriptor to this podcast, and you can use the coupon code WINTER2324. And if you do, you will get...
You'll get 10% off.
Okay. Let's say hi to everybody on the chat board, shall we?
Surely.
And hi to everybody on the chat board. Welcome to this Wednesday night Joe and Joe Weather Show, the 28th of February. We've got an extra day this month, and it doesn't matter. The weather will be the same, and we are hoping that
a lot of people saying tomorrow, oh, March is going to come in like a lion. I guess a lot of people forgot that it's a leap year, and tomorrow is the 29th of February, and by the time March does officially arrive on Friday, we'll have rather lamb-like conditions, actually, so not long on my end. So,
oh, well, I have it. Okay, well, I have it on mine too.
Yeah, the buffer wheel is stopped now. Okay, so
all right, whatever's going on. Yeah, there was I had a couple little flickering here. I was 62 today at 3 o'clock, and right now 37. So we've dropped 25 degrees in the last 4 hours here in the mountains of North Georgia. But as I was saying, welcome to everybody on the chat board, and welcome to those of you who are lurking in the background on tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. If you like the show, hit the like button so we can get to 100 likes. And if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, you won't miss the Joe and Joe Weather Show, which is on Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m. and the occasional Friday and Saturday when we have a storm. However, we are going to be off tomorrow, so there will be no Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast for tomorrow. One thing I did notice going into this evening, the gradient isn't as tight as was modeled ahead of this cold front. It gets
a lot of things are not the way they were projected or predicted to be. For example, right now, Joe, I'm more or less in kind of a large hole. Well, not really anymore, but for the most part, there's a large hole over the Hudson River Valley right now, the lower Hudson Valley. There's a stripe now of some very light precipitation. It looks like there's some kind of a squall line, but it's well to my north and west, and it may not actually get through here until maybe sometime after 8:30 or 9 o'clock. But the expectation is, or was, that we'd be experiencing strong gusty winds about this time, rapid shifting winds from south to northwest, and the potential for, trees, branches, and limbs coming down and maybe power outages. But really, what's happening is a weather pattern that a cold front is coming on through, but as you just mentioned, the gradient not quite as tight as what was being projected. Certainly, it doesn't look like we're going to be in line for anything in terms of convective activity. By the way, Renata and I were woken up this morning at 4 o'clock. One huge crack of thunder at 4 a.m. Not before and not after. When we first saw the lightning and heard the crash of thunder, I said, "Uh-oh, here we go. We're gonna have this now for the next, hour or so." That was it. That was it. All over. Done. And I didn't get anything today, convective wise. We did have a few heavy showers. So it looks like this front is going to come on through, maybe not quite as much potency as what had been advertised. And then we'll get into a brisk and colder weather regime by later this evening through the rest of the overnight. Temps in the high 50s today, mid and high 50s in spite of the cloud cover. No, we did not break out into any poke or peak of sunshine. And as we move into the latter part of the night, temperatures will drop off quickly. You'll wake up tomorrow morning to temperatures around freezing. Winds will be brisk enough so that it'll make it feel more like 20s and teens. And tomorrow, well, maybe near 40, maybe, with sunshine, especially in the afternoon. Morning hours, the wind is brisk enough, we might actually see a stray or renegade snow shower coming down from the Great Lakes and crossing through parts of the Hudson Valley, but that's not going to do anything to anyone. But yeah, you're right. Cameo appearance by winter. We go back to probably mid 40s on Friday, 50 on Saturday, and guess what? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 55 to 60. Springtime returns after this brief flirt with winter to close out the month of February.
Pretty much. That kind of sums it up, I guess. I mean, meanwhile, I was reading a forecast, and I took it down, but I was reading the forecast from Truckee, California, which I got a kick out of it. Let me get it back again. I saved it and then I got rid of it, and I'll bring it back up. Just give me a moment here. I just love reading these things sometimes when the crazy stuff that happens out west. Truckee, California, and which right now, by the way, is at 41. Okay, 41 degrees. So this is their forecast. They have a blizzard warning up, and the forecast goes as follows: tonight, a chance of rain after 4 a.m. Snow level 7,100 feet, lowering to 6,100 feet after midnight. Mostly cloudy. Low of 31. Total nighttime snow accumulation less than half an inch. Now, tomorrow, chance of rain and snow before 7 a.m., then snow. The snow could be heavy at times. Patchy blowing snow between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. Not at 9 a.m., not at 9:30 a.m., but between 10 and 11. Okay. And I'm sorry, total snow accumulation tomorrow, 4 to 8 inches. Thursday night, snow. Could be heavy at times. Widespread blowing snow, low of 24. Total new snow accumulation, 10 to 15, 10 to 16 inches. Friday, snow. The snow could be heavy at times. Widespread blowing snow. Snow accumulations, 10 to 14 inches. Friday night, snow. The snow could be heavy at times. Widespread blowing snow. The total snow accumulation, 13 to 19 inches. I didn't bother to add this up. Saturday, snow before this. I love this one, Joe. Snow before 10 a.m., then snow showers between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., then snow after 4 p.m. The snow could be heavy at times. New, some thunder is also possible. Widespread blowing snow. Snow accumulation 8 to 12 inches. Saturday night, snow mainly before 10 p.m. Snow could be heavy at times, low of 14. New snow accumulations 2 to 4. I have no idea what that adds up to, but I was looking at some of the model forecasts, so many spots on there when I was running the cursor, and I'll do it in a little while, showing 100 inches plus. I mean, what do you do? I don't even, I can't fathom it, you
And
know?
do these people, there are people who live in this zone? I guess they are, which is why the Weather Service forecasts for that region. So I guess there are people who live in that area and who need a forecast to tell them that they're going to get 100 inches of snow between now and the end of the weekend, I guess,
Well,
right?
I certainly hope that they ran to their local Piggly Wiggly and picked up, some milk and some bread and, you know, food stuff
Or Sam Drucker's.
or to right to Sam Drucker's exactly. And it's
All
just
right. All right, Gotsies.
going in a different direction for a different show.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so let's move it along here. As Give me 1 second. This is what it looks like. This is the Reno forecast office where they've got the blizzard warnings up, all on the California side. They got winter storm warnings up on the Nevada side, which include Reno and Carson City. And as far as the watches and warnings across the country, we've got wind advisories mostly up and down the East Coast. We've got some high wind warnings up in north central and in northeastern New York. There's actually two counties in south central New York. Probably, I don't know if that's Binghamton, but there's two counties there that they have a winter weather advisory up or whatever they're going to get snow wise. And out in the west, it's obvious, winter storm warnings, western half of Washington State, particularly in the Cascades, down into southern Oregon, northwestern California. They become blizzard warnings in the Sierra Nevadas. They tail off to winter storm warnings on the southern end of those mountains. And we've got a few winter storm warnings up in Nevada, as well as western Wyoming, uh, parts of Idaho, the central part of the state, and the northwestern corner of the state under a winter storm warning. Not much, severe weather-wise today. A lot of severe weather yesterday and last night, but it all seemed to tail off a bit today. There were one or two severe thunderstorms, but they really, really didn't amount to much. And this is the 21Z surface map. Part of the reason is look where the low is. I mean, it's way up. It's way up in Labrador on this frontal boundary. So the gradient is not nearly as tight as Joe pointed out with the winds today. Not nearly as tight ahead of it. It's a little tighter behind it, so we're just going to wait for that frontal boundary to move on through. The warm fronts kind of pushed all the way up. Actually, just sort of died. There was one to the south that died out. Now new ones forming up uh, in in New Hampshire. Oh, by the way, Mike Waterhouse on the chat board points out that I'm actually 15 degrees colder here in North Georgia than he is in Maine. So talk about the weather being essentially upside down. And go out to the west, colder air. It's in the 30s and 20s across the Great Lakes, or at least it was at 4 o'clock this afternoon. Teens in single digits as you get up into the northern plains, and then you start to go below zero once you go on the Canada side. And here's the storm system over Vancouver Island that's dropping southward. And I noticed Joe CPC earlier today was talking about the snowfall rates in the Cascades of 2 to 3 inches an hour it's still afternoon there, but they were going for 2 to 3 inches an hour for the afternoon and into the evening with this first round of snow that they're getting. But they've got 4 more days of this, 3 or 4 more days of it to deal with. And here's a satellite loop. The front's moving along. That's for sure. I still don't think there's going to be a problem, at least down near the coast, maybe someplace way up in upstate New York and interior central and northern New England, where there might be a changeover to snow or maybe some, a little bit of a flash freeze. But I just don't think it's going to be a problem uh, down down near the coastal, in the coastal plain.
Well, if you want snow, the place to go is areas west of the Mississippi because it certainly is not going to happen here for a number of days to come, at least through the middle part of the month. And, the usual suspects Sierra Nevadas, the Cascades, those are the places that are going to get pounded with snow. And for us, again, too warm. Indeed, it is going to turn colder. Chuck Cardillo saying, Joe Ray will wait until the front passes by. Your winds will really rev up. I have no question that that's going to happen, Chuck. But by that time also, the skies will clear. We're not looking at again anything in terms of possible heavy duty lightning and thunder here, or showers and thunderstorms. I checked the GOES satellite for convection, Joe, and there's nothing to be had. So this front will again move on through. The winds will shift around into the northwest, usher in that cold air. Not a flash freeze, although temperatures by midnight tonight, right now they're about 56 degrees here. By midnight, I suspect they'll be down close to freezing and maybe a touch below freezing by daybreak tomorrow morning.
Well, the front's easy to find on the radar. It's fairly sharp. You can see where the western edge of the precip cuts off, and we'll zoom in. Let's see if I can do that. Let me zoom in. I think so. There we go. Um, there might be a couple of cells up in upstate New York. There's a little few red spots there. It's at least certainly probably some heavy downpours. But you're right. There's basically a hole right now over northern New Jersey, New York City, Long Island, the Hudson Valley, and much of Connecticut and southern Massachusetts. And what's left in eastern Pennsylvania doesn't look all that impressive either. There's a gap there. It does pick up down in southeast Virginia into North Carolina. There are a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings. There, at least there were three in South Carolina, now down to one. And we had a squall line go through here. Boy, what happened to my radar? It's disappeared on me. That wasn't supposed to happen.
Everything went black.
Yeah, hang on a second. Hold on. That was just weird. Let me see. Let me get rid of this. Oh, there you go. Yeah, when the front came through here, we had a brief but really torrential downpour with a little bit of thunder, but that was really about it. And it's been kind of windy too, with the gusts in the 30s, which up here in the mountains, the trees all move at the same time. When the winds pick up over 30 miles an hour, you just hope that none of them are going to snap. But meanwhile, as I said, the front making progress, and then you go up into the Pacific Northwest, and you see the heavy precip that's moved into Washington and northwestern Oregon, and just to the east of Seattle and Tacoma, you get into the mountains there, the Cascades. That's all moderate to heavy snow that's coming down through this evening. Storm Prediction Center's pretty much done here as far as tonight is concerned. I mean, they still have, actually, no, they just updated this. Let's take a look. Yeah, the categorical now. Yeah, they've only have an area of convection indicated from the southern half of South Carolina, eastern North Carolina, and southeastern Virginia, and that's about it. So they've even taken out the marginal risk that was up and the general thunderstorm risk. No severe weather tomorrow, just some thunderstorms possible from East Texas to Western Mississippi on day 3. We're talking from Southeast Texas northeastward into Georgia with the possibility of convection, and also along the West Coast where we have the chance for some general thunderstorm activity there. Did I miss that for day 2? Yeah, there's a narrow area from coastal Washington and Oregon down to northwestern California, and there's nothing tonight, but for tomorrow and for Friday, there is. So, what are we looking at for precip? The system for Friday night and Saturday. What are your impressions? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, Joe.
I said the system for Friday night and Saturday. What are your
Did you?
impressions?
Oh, my impressions is that we are going to have. I'm sorry, because I think you ended with on a preposition or whatever, and that's now allowed. Um, what do I expect? I expect some rain and shower activity on Saturday. I expect temperatures on Saturday to jump back up to around 50. Then I think we'll dry out a little bit on Sunday with partial sunshine, and then more scattered showers coming our way for each of the first 3 days of next week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. But if you're hoping for snow, forget about it, because it looks like temperatures those 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, will be somewhere in the general range of 55 to maybe even touching 60 degrees.
Rainfall amounts in the east over the next 7 days. We're looking at um, half to 3/4 of an inch. Some of that's tonight. So even the system for Friday night and Saturday is not going to really produce a whole lot of rain, but it's going to be more of a nuisance than anything else. Some bigger rains down in the Gulf states, again showing tons of precip in the west, with anywhere from 5 to 10 inches up and down the north coast of California up to Washington, the coast of Washington, the mountains also picking up at least 5 to 10 inches of liquid or more. So that's going to translate into at least 5 to 10 feet of snow or even more. Also, you can expect up to 2 to 3 feet in some of the mountains of northern and central Idaho, where 2 to 3 inches of liquid precipitation is being indicated there. WPC's got the 50% probability of at least 2 inches, maybe down to between Poughkeepsie and Kingston. I find that difficult to believe. I'm not sure why they did that. And they've got a higher probability coming off of Lake Erie, I'm sorry, Lake Ontario into north central into central New York and parts of north central New York. Kind of goes northwest southeast on this one, the way they have it drawn. Also in northwestern Massachusetts and on up into Vermont. Again, that 50% line, I don't know. I think that's kind of too far south for my taste, but that's me. But I like to use that. And we can look at the probability of at least 12 and go to the west and take a look. And you'll see that there's a fairly large area here in Idaho and also in California and up the Cascades. We've been playing that broken record for a few days now. So, you're right about nothing happening over the next 16 days because I was kind of looking at this upper air pattern and here's that trough in the west dropping down now as the trough in the east lifts out. And, you know, this has been the primary pattern all winter long. And except for those two short periods that we had, one in January, one in February, and that's been it. And if you look at this in the longer term, I mean, that trough in the west, at least through the next 12 days, is out there, and it's actually even beyond that. You know, you have to get to day 16 before the trough kind of gets out of the west for a short period of time. But I guarantee you, there's probably it's probably getting ready to send down another one. So, if you're asking about a short window of opportunity in the first half of March, it ain't going to happen. I really don't think it's going to happen. And I'm starting to wonder about the second half.
Yeah, you start looking for these little signs, little changes in the overall pattern, and it just doesn't look like it's going to be happening. You're right. There may be a little bit of an opening as the trough kind of breaks down over northwest Canada and Alaska sometime around the middle part of March, but it's a very short opening because it looks like, as you said, Joe, the trough may begin to reestablish itself there after mid-month, and if that happens, then that takes into account takes the latter part of March into some question as to whether or not they're. And I like Jason Fox on the chat board saying, "But hey, there's April." Yeah.
Oh, just give it up. Really. I think just we have to give this up already. I, I, I've never seen it be this persistent for this. Well, no, I have. I shouldn't say that. We had last year, which was actually in a lot of ways worse. But I'm running through the ensembles here. It's like I just love this. As each as soon as the Western Trough pulls out, another one drops down from Alaska and drops down the West Coast. This is at day 10. And then there's a little troughing in the east, big deal. And it starts to weaken. Now the ensembles toward the end of the forecast period, the trough is no longer there, but all of Canada is all wrong. There's a ridge along the east coast, and if we look at, let's see if the overnight, the 0Z run is the run that goes out to what is it, 800 and something hours, 840, and it starts coming in at like 6:30 in the evening, so it's out to 484. I mean, if you look at wow, we're at the St. Patrick's Day, Joe. I mean, yeah, now there's a ridge. Of course, now there's ridging in the Gulf of Alaska and Western Canada, right around St. Patrick's Day. I mean, I'm assuming that if you assume that the ensembles are correct, and I've been looking them over the last couple of days, that they do make the pattern look colder for the second half of March. But I have my doubts. I really do. I really have my doubts that it's going to change.
Well, some people on the chat board say, "Is Joe Cioffi throwing in the towel?"
Oh, it's thrown. For God's sake, yes. It's over.
Now, of course, you've done that or said that. You know,
Oh
we'll
no,
we'll
there's a method to my madness. I want to be wrong.
we'll have a repeat of the April 6th blizzard from 1982.
Yeah,
Uh,
well, I would just like to point out though, bringing up the April 1982 storm, um, which was wonderful. That was now what 44 years ago. I'm sorry,
yeah,
42 years ago.
42.
42 years ago. So there have been 42 opportunities for a repeat performance of that storm in the month of April. And yes, there have been some events during the month of April in that stretch, but nothing to really to match that. So your odds are pretty long that it's going to happen this year, or
Well,
in fact, or in fact, any year.
you remember that snowless or seemingly snowless winter we had a few years ago, and what happened? The pattern changed, and we had snow flurries on the 9th of May. So,
Reuben Fairchild, okay. Can you please bring in Mr. Weather Dave to discuss his miserable predictions? What has he learned from this winter? What lessons are
now
learned?
who's Mr. Weather Dave?
Oh, he's talking about Dave Toleras, who he
Oh,
can, who,
oh,
all right, Dave's Dave has admitted on his own page that he was, the errors were made. So in the forecast, I don't know what I guess maybe we could ask him what we can glean from this. But you seem to be kind of reveling in it, and I find that a little disconcerting. Okay. And James Davidson, you've been saying every day for 3 months that winter is over. Why do you have to continually say the same things over and over and over and over and over again? Just a question. So I put that out there.
Whatever.
Okay. Joe's not the only one that's not in a good mood. So anyhow, here we go. Front goes by, high goes out, weak low to the south. We'll get a nuisance rain for late Friday night into Saturday afternoon, and that goes out. And then, Sunday and Monday, I mean, unless something comes in with onshore winds, I don't see any problems. Looks like maybe some middle week rain for next week, warm air for the whole week, trying to find where it's cold. And meanwhile, look at this in California. Of course, you got this storm tonight with the dark blue. It's almost black snow in the Sierra Nevadas. Okay, it finally winds down, but it doesn't really wind down because there's still moisture coming in off the Pacific Monday and Tuesday, and then another system comes in the middle part of next week and brings another round of very heavy snow there, and then that goes out. And then another system comes in 2 days later and brings another round of heavy snow there. And that also takes like 3 or 4 days to play out. This doesn't stop. It doesn't stop.
So, what is your point?
No, just that
we continue to we continue to suffer, ladies and gentlemen.
you know
That's
what? The suffering is over with. It's fine. We're almost into March. My roses are all been, the leaves have all come out. I was looking at my yard. I was like waiting for all the perennials that I planted last year to come back and, to start coming back. And I'm looking forward to that. So I'm not, I'm done with this stuff. Barry Goldberg, thank you for hitting super chat tonight. Most appreciated.
very
And
much.
he says, "You're both Catholic. Don't you have connections to make it snow?" I don't know who the weather people have sinned against in order to have produced the last two winters. Um, I'm sure the Lord is all forgiving, and one day he or she will bless us with a gorgeous snowy pattern in the eastern part of the United States.
Barry, if I had connections, I would be wishing for a lot more than just snow.
Well, you
But
have to work on that April, your eclipse weather,
yeah, yeah.
you know. So anyhow, um, all right. Well, I guess we don't have too much else to talk about tonight.
Do you want to hold off on Briller Jeopardy until Sunday, the Alfred Hitchcock Briller Jeopardy, or
Yeah, we might as well. Leon Probitsky, thank you for hitting super chat tonight, and thanks for all of you, by the way, when you hit the tip jar. We very much appreciate it. I've got nothing else to add.
I don't have much to add either. I mean, I think we've just about said it. If you're in a pattern like this, what more is there to say except that we can only hope that things will change in the foreseeable future and make things more exciting. And right now, Joe, I honestly could tell you that 24 hours ago, I was saying to myself, "Gee, maybe I won't be able to get on tonight because of all the wind and the possibility of losing power and the heavy squally rains that are going to be outside." And I'm just looking off out the window beyond the doorway here, and it's pretty well. mm, So the most exciting part of my day, weather-wise, as I said, was the 4 o'clock this morning with that one loud crack of thunder, and that was it.
Well, all right. Joe and Joe Weather Show brought to you by Tempest by Weatherflow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system. Join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. Link is on the descriptor to this live stream. Use the coupon code WINTER2324. And if you do, what will you get, Joe?
You'll get 10% off. That's probably the best
Okay.
thing I could. That's probably the best thing I could say for this entire show is
All
get
right.
that 10% from. Oh dear, I'm gonna just shut it down right now.
All right, we got the next 3 days off, everybody. Thank you for being here, and we'll be back Sunday evening at 7:35. Nighty night.